Somebody asked, does stress shooting really work, or is it all show? So
Yeah, I'll probably piss people off on that one.
well, but I mean,
and you guys too.
no, legitimate question. You know, it's like you said, you get into that range-itis, you get into that range mentality. There's no stress on the range. Now you can add stress by adding time requirements, accuracy requirements, all of those things that make the range more stressful, but that's not real stress. It's a type of it's a type
Physical
of
versus
stress.
mental. Right.
Exactly.
Physical versus mental.
And
That's the hardest thing.
in all honesty, you really need
But
to
I mean,
mimic
like,
both.
So, but you guys, how do you guys feel on the stress? Trying to create stress by running around, throwing weights all over the place, and getting the heart rate up. Do you think that induces the correct stress for
Less is more.
for a real situation?
Less is more, I think, with the physical stuff. So, with, like, you know, I think that there is a misunderstanding that a lot of shooters have. That is, if I get my heart rate, if I do, 100 burpees, then I go shoot a gun. That was awesome stress-induced training. It's like, well, did you want to?
Yeah, I totally disagree.
Yeah. Well, it's like, are you trying to? Yeah, I don't agree with that either. Are you trying to smoke yourself? Yeah.
If I'm driving a vehicle and I start getting shot at, I don't have any physical stress. I've got a ton of mental stress.
Right. So people that do that, if you're doing it physical stress, then I agree. Like that, well, I don't agree because I haven't seen it on target myself.
You didn't do burpees the first
No.
time?
Well,
You
we
got an
did.
RPG?
Hell yeah, we did. I did all that shit. I did all that stuff. Pre 9/11.
You fast rope in, you do your burpees.
Yeah.
You
So
you
I don't.
breach.
But if
Breaching in.
that's what instructors are doing it for,
Right.
like physical stress, then I would.
You have to create a stressor.
I wouldn't say bullshit on it.
You have to
But
understand how you perform in an elevated heart rate.
creating mental stress by doing burpees and throwing weights,
Or like-
it ain't the same.
Dudes that like duct tape their hands together, like you never know when your hands gonna be shot off, bro. Like we're looking at this the wrong way.
Yeah.
Like, let's backpedal here.
Let's not train for getting shot our
Yeah.
hands off. Yeah, this is not good.
It's okay. So guys focus too much on the physical aspect, and it's like you need to understand what it's like to shoot with an elevated heart rate. Absolutely. But the mental stress is more important because the speed of a tactical engagement is very different than.
And it has ebbs and flows.
Yeah. So I think that, we get so caught up in, again, like, the harder is better kind of a thing. It's like, man, we ran a 2-miler with our gas mask on, then we qualled. Like, okay, but like, what was the learning objective? They're like, what did your...
Well, but see,
I
I did shit like that too. But it was all pre 9/11 stuff that we thought.
Right.
All that hard ass shit, like you're saying, harder, and not smarter.
Yeah,
or,
hard Rangers, not smart Rangers.
But that's what we thought was gonna fucking get us through battle. And then when it came down to it, all that shit. So yeah, now if you see people doing it, I'd be like, you guys are some, you're doing the wrong, you're doing the
living in the
wrong
past.
thing.
Well, it's like the first time you get exposed to it, you kind of like, all right, check the box, and you're like, all right, this is what it's like, my hand movements might slow down. But if you're relying on that specifically, like it might be improperly patterning you for the mental component, which you can accomplish through like, blind shoots or force on force. Truly, I hate to say like problem solving because that's such a misnomer a lot of times with.
Which is a huge aspect
but
of
absolutely.
shooting, but it has nothing to do with shooting.
Tactical problems are huge mindset problems.
Yeah.
And they're huge, mental problems as you're working through. It's a tactical chess game.
Yeah.
And so you're working through it, and it's that next move.
I think that if you're a decent shooter, physical stress shouldn't really be that big of a hindrance because you understand how to control it. You understand how to control.
If you're also in decent physical condition.
Yeah, if you're.
Right.
And assuming you need to shoot.
But I think if you're a badass shooter, it's gonna be less mental stress as well because you're gonna win.
Well, competitive shooters. So here's a question: does competitive
But
shooting?
then that goes into can you get shot at?
Right. So does competitive shooting mimic some of those mental and physical stressors that you would train for in a combat scenario? You're shooting under time, you're shooting for accuracy, you're competing, and some of those shooting events require physical movement.
I have some pretty fat guys that are amazing competitive shooters. I get smoked by some dudes in USPSA that are ginormous.
I know some one-legged dudes that can smoke me in competition on any day.
I think it's great.
So too, no.
But you could be the number one in the world, and when it came down to getting shot at, you might
you might
funk out.
seize up.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think it's good that, you know, the tactical community has gotten away from the narrative of, you know, competition will get you killed. You're like, okay, we've gotten away from that to see that there are benefits. Sure. But I've also seen with the popularity of competitive shooting, some tactical shooters actually start to like veer towards the bad sides of it. You know, examples would be like a holster configuration, you know, just like level 1 retention. It's like, hey, you know, there's not all holsters are made the same kind of a thing. If that thing flops out on the ground when it needs to be up against your hip because you're like running over walls.
Or you catch it on every doorway.
Yeah.
Or you get into a situation where you go hands-on with somebody and you've got this thing, protrusion.
It's, I think, good for a measure of mechanics, but if you're improperly...
well, if you're gonna do it, I think they're great because I think where you're going with it with kit-wise, totally agree with you. Like, you got to do the stock class. You know, use what you
There you go.
use what you be using.
The
I think
practical tactical or whatever the.
Well, I think you can do. I think it's called stock class.
I think there's some
Efficient
benefits
shoots,
there.
as long as you're using the stuff that you'd be using.
Right.
You know how you. If you're a day-to-day carry guy, well, when you're doing those carry or those competitions, you should be doing it.
You should be doing it from
from
how
a
you
carry.
how you carry. Agreed.